Why does one newspaper scream, "Budget time bomb," while another calls it a "lifeline for 67 million"? The truth isn't in the headlines. It's in the letters. One woman wrote, "I cut my blood pressure pills in half just to make them last." Tonight, we're not talking about policy on paper. We're talking about the math of dignity in retirement and whether America still keeps its promises. The headlines screamed two different Americas. Budget time bomb, in one paper, lifeline for 67 million, in another. But the truth wasn't in the headlines, it was in the letters. That's the real news about retirement in America. The Golden Promise Act has left the committee room and entered America's living rooms. Ana Ramirez stared at the stack of newspapers Tommy had dropped on her desk. Their headlines screaming contradictory truths. The Wall Street Journal, "Budget time bomb Social Security bill threatens fiscal stability." USA Today, "Lifeline for 67 million Congress considers historic tax relief." The Des Moines Register, "Iowa Seniors Rally for Golden Promise Act." Through the studio window, C-SPAN played on mute the Senate Finance Committee hearing, already 3 hours deep. Senator Robert Grant was at the microphone, his silver hair catching the harsh committee room lights. Behind him, rows of seniors in matching purple AARP shirts sat like a jury of the affected. "Turn up the audio," Anna told Tommy, who was simultaneously monitoring 4 news feeds and texting with his mother. Her latest message, "Watching hearing. Why do they make it so complicated?" Robert Grant's voice filled the studio. "For 40 years, we've allowed inflation to turn a tax on the wealthy into a burden on the working class. In 1984, this tax affected 10% of Social Security recipients. Today, it's 56%. That's not policy drift, colleagues. That's a broken promise." The camera cut to Marshall Green from Texas, his skepticism worn like armor. Robert Grant, the Congressional Budget Office projects, "Your bill would accelerate trust fund insolvency by 18 months minimum. How do you justify that to workers currently paying into the system?" She knows these numbers by heart now. Like Dad's ledger entries, Representative Angela Carter appeared on the split screen from the House Ways and Means Committee, meeting simultaneously. The high earner contribution will generate $865 billion over 10 years. On Monitor 3, an MSNBC panel. "It's about basic fairness. Why should a teacher's Social Security be taxed, while hedge fund managers pay nothing on capital gains?" Tommy held up his phone. Another text from his mother. "Your father just calculated. We'd save $4,100 a year. That's his heart medication for 8 months." Anna pulled her microphone closer. They were going live in 90 seconds for an update. The newspapers on her desk seemed to multiply, each headline a different version of America. A different vision of what we owe each other. 30 seconds, Tommy said. On C-SPAN, a new voice drive. Martha Williams from the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. "This bill is emotional manipulation. We're applying a band-aid to a severed artery." Harold's notebook. Patricia's warnings. Daniel's anger. All of it, playing out in marble rooms. Going live in 5, 4. Anna straightened. The red light blazed. This is Ana Ramirez with breaking coverage of the Golden Promise Act hearings. As we speak, Congress is debating whether to eliminate federal taxes on Social Security. benefits a change that would affect 67 million Americans and reshape retirement planning for generations. She glanced at the newspapers. The media coverage has been divided. Some call it long overdue justice for retirees who've seen their benefits eroded by 40 years of inflation. Others warn it's a fiscal time bomb that will hasten Social Security's insolvency. On the monitors, the committee room erupted. Someone in the gallery was shouting, "We're seeing disruption in the Senate hearing," Anna narrated. A man appears to be in his 70s is standing, holding up what looks like a medical bill. Security is moving in. The man's voice carried over the committee microphones. Before they cut his audio, "My wife died because we couldn't afford." Silence. The senators shifted uncomfortably. Gomez's face was stone. Tommy's expression was stricken. His phone showed a text from his father. "That could be us." Anna forced herself to continue. "As always, I remind our listeners these characters are fictional. But the struggles are real. But the emotions we're seeing, those are real. The fear, the anger, the hope, all real." Representative Craig was speaking again. "My colleague from Texas asks about workers currently paying in. Let me ask about workers currently dying because they can't afford medications on taxed benefits they earned over 40 years of labor." Anna thought of her family dinner table. The chair scraping. The door slamming. "The committee is returning to order," Anna reported. "Robert Grant is speaking." But Tommy was waving frantically, pointing at his computer screen. A news alert was flashing across every monitor simultaneously. Breaking Senate Finance Committee delays. Golden Promise Act vote indefinitely. Anna's breath caught. Through the window, she could see the committee room erupting in chaos. Seniors in purple shirts standing, shouting. Gomez's face cycling through shock, rage, resignation. Craig on the House side, her head in her hands. "Ladies and gentlemen," Anna's voice was steady despite the tremor in her hands. "The Senate Finance Committee has just announced an indefinite delay on voting for the Golden Promise Act. No reason given. No timeline provided." Tommy held up a sign, "Your mom on line 1. Of course she was. Along with millions of other Americans, watching their hope get postponed indefinitely. Anna thought of Margaret from Dubuque, living on $1,654 a month. Of Walter, the John Deere retiree. Of Harold with his careful calculations. Of Patricia's warnings about solvency. Of Daniel's frustration and Michael's faith. This delay means uncertainty continues. Anna said, her professional voice masking personal devastation. For the 23 million Americans paying taxes on their Social Security. For the high earners wondering if they'll face new payroll taxes. For everyone trying to plan a retirement in a system that can't even decide if benefits should be taxed. The monitors showed senators filing out. The purple-shirted seniors remained seated, as if refusing to accept what just happened. One elderly woman was crying, comforted by others. "We'll have complete analysis after this break," Anna said. "But for now, the Golden Promise Act and the promise it represents remains unfulfilled." The red light went dark. Anna slumped forward, newspapers crumpling under her arms. Tomorrow she'd have to explain this to her listeners. Tonight, she'd have to explain it to her mother. Tommy walked in, phone in hand. "My parents want to know what this means." Anna looked at the scattered headlines, at her Father's ledger tucked in her bag, at the monitors showing America divided. "It means we keep waiting," she said. "And keep fighting." The pile of handwritten letters on Ana Ramirez's desk looked like archaeology layers of American retirement. Each envelope a different shade of worry. Some were written on lined notebook paper. Others on floral stationery from a dollar store 20 years ago. The handwriting ranged from careful cursive to shaky print, arthritis making its mark on every third letter. Anna picked up one postmarked from Marshalltown. The writing trembled across the page. "Ms. Ramirez, I am 78 years old. Last month I cut my blood pressure pills in half to make them last. My Social Security is $1,247. After they take out Medicare premiums and federal taxes, my rent is $750. You do the math. Every letter, a ledger entry. Every story, a calculation that doesn't add up." Through the studio window, the community center down the street glowed with fluorescent light. Tommy had set up a live feed there. 43 seniors gathered on folding chairs to watch tonight's broadcast on a borrowed projector. These were her people, their faces illuminated by the screen showing her empty chair. 2 minutes to air," Tommy said softly. Anna opened another envelope. A Green Bay return address. "Sold my car last week. Can't afford insurance plus gas. Plus Medicare Part B at $174.70. Now I take the bus to dialysis. Takes 3 hours each way. I'm 71. The on-air sign blazed red. "Good evening, Heartland. This is Ana Ramirez. And tonight we're reading your letters. Your stories. Your truth about retirement in America." She smoothed the first letter flat. "Dorothy from Marshalltown writes about cutting pills in half. She's not alone. According to AARP, 1 in 5 seniors regularly splits medication to save money. Dorothy, if you're listening, we hear you." The phone lines lit up. Anna pressed line 1. "This is Margaret from Dubuque. I'm the one living on $1,654 a month. After my husband died. These aren't numbers on a spreadsheet. This is choosing between heat or groceries." At the community center, heads nodded. One woman dabbed her eyes. "Margaret, the Golden Promise Act would save you about $220 a month." "What would that mean for you?" "It would mean dignity. Not having to ask my children for help. I worked 34 years as a school secretary. I shouldn't have to beg." Anna touched the next letter. "From a Vietnam veteran in Cedar Falls. My pension collapsed when the company declared bankruptcy. Lost 60% overnight. Now they tax my Social Security. Like it's a windfall? I gave 3 years in Vietnam. 30 more to Firestone. What did I get? Broken promises." Dad would have understood this man. Same calloused hands. Same betrayed trust. Line 2 blinked. Anna pressed it. "This is Kyle from Ankeny. And I'm only 43. Why should I care about Social Security reform? There won't be anything left when I retire. You boomers are taking it all." The community center murmured. One man stood as if to argue with the screen. "Kyle, I understand your frustration. But Social Security isn't a savings account. It's a promise between generations. The question is, whether we'll honor it, or break it. Seems already broken to me," Kyle said, before hanging up. A younger caller says, "Social Security won't even be there when I retire." Meanwhile, An 82-year-old woman writes that she's still working the night shift at Walmart. And then there's this. My father's letter, written before he passed away. One word stands out. Promise. Anna looked at the camera, aware both her studio audience and the community center were watching. Kyle's not wrong to worry. The trust fund faces depletion by 2033. Without changes, Medicare premiums rose 5.9% this year. Pension collapse affected 10 million Americans. Financial freedom for seniors feels increasingly like fiction. She picked up another letter. This one on yellow legal paper. I'm 82, still working at Walmart. Because Social Security isn't enough. My knees hurt. My back hurts. But rent has to be paid. Is this the American dream? At the community center, a woman in a faded purple sweater stood up. That's my letter. I wrote that. Anna saw her on Tommy's monitor. Ma'am, we hear you. And I need to be honest. I don't have all the answers. The Golden Promise Act is stalled. Congress is divided. But what I know is this. The debate isn't about tax codes. It's about whether America keeps its promises. To people who worked their whole lives. She paused. And as always, this is a fictionalized discussion. Not legal, tax, or investment advice. But the fears you just heard are very, very real. Tommy held up one finger. 1 minute to commercial. Anna reached for the last letters. Then stopped. At the bottom, in an envelope yellowed with age, was her father's handwriting. Her name on the front. Formal Anna Marie Ramirez. The postmark was 3 years old. A month before his death. Inside, his shaky handwriting filled a single page. Mija, if you're reading this, I'm gone. But your mother isn't. If Social Security ever changes. If they take more from those who have so little. Promise me you'll fight. Not just on the radio. Really fight. For her. For everyone like us. Some promises are too sacred to break. Love. Dad. The commercial break music was playing. But Anna couldn't move. She folded the letter carefully. Placed it next to the ledger she always carried. Her father's candle from chapter 3. Sat on her desk. Still burning. Tommy, she said quietly. Next segment. We're going off script. He nodded. Something fundamental had shifted. Anna looked at the pile of letters. Each one a life. A promise made and broken. Then at her father's letter. His final request. She whispered. Some promises are too heavy to ignore. My father wrote, if Social Security ever changes. If they take more from those who already have so little. Promise me you'll fight. Some promises are too sacred to break. That's why I'm here. Not just behind the microphone. But standing with you. So I want to hear from you. What's your reality of retirement? Do you support eliminating the Social Security tax? Share your story in the comments. Because when we speak together, the promise gains weight. And stay tuned. In our next episode, The Cost of Waiting. What happens when hope is delayed? And families pay the price. Subscribe. And turn on notifications. Because some promises are just too heavy to ignore. The on-air sign blazed back to life. Anna lifted the microphone, her father's letter beside her, and prepared to stop being neutral. These characters are fictional, but the struggles are real. This is not about political sides. It's about seniors staring at utility bills, property taxes, and pharmacy receipts, trying to make the math of dignity in retirement add up.